Welcome back, my ghouls and geeks, to Podcast for the Recently Released. I'm your host, Lois Stardust.
And I'm your co-host, Joe Matissa.
Today, we got lots of stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking about some things that Joe could put up there. Let him do
some
it.
things, huh?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going into episode 61 today. We're going to be talking about a movie called The Devil Below, a movie called Raya, the Last Dragon. We're going to touch base again on WandaVision, and we're going to touch base on Superman and Lois again. So this will be a fun time today. I know you were excited to talk about Raya the Last Dragon, and I'm excited to talk about finally like a more action horror movie. We haven't been doing quite as much of them as I've wanted, and you've probably wanted as well. We've just been looking for the right stuff, I feel like, lately. So let's dive right into that one first. We're going to dive right into The Devil Below and have a little fun with that. This movie is one of those movies where it's like, you know, right to the point. They give you like a real simple little intro, and as soon as they kind of get into things just cook up right away, and it's kind of the whole time just action-y stuff going on, and people are like dying right away. So it's pretty cool. What did you think of this movie overall when you first like saw the trailer of this? Like,
I mean, it definitely looks like it's a B movie, if not a C movie. Like, it looks like it's so, like...
A B movie?
Uh-huh.
Well, it's got that guy in it that we saw in Swamp Thing. You remember? He's like the mayor or something of the town in Swamp Thing, and he's in this, and he's a guy that owns this mining company in this small town up in the mountains. And basically, in the past, there was a day where they were doing some work, him and his kid and everybody else on the job site, and his kid got snatched by something out of nowhere, and then the thing attacked him as well, and then took his kid and killed his kid, and it was some kind of monster. And then fast forward, and there's this group of, I guess, like some, you know, students and some science guys and stuff like that. They're basically trying to go and look up some material in this mine they've heard of from the past that closed, and they couldn't really find it on any map, so they hired somebody to get them there. And it's this girl, and she's basically just getting them to location, making sure they can do their job, and then she's going to take them back. But on the way, they kind of get into a few obstacles. They're going to get there, and basically it's a small town. Nobody wants to give them any information. They start following them and kind of try to get them off of the path to get to this place. And you kind of are like, what's the deal? Why does nobody want them in the mine? Well, obviously we know, because you see the, you know, flashback to monster killing people or whatever. So they get there, and they get to the point where they got to climb over some fences and stuff like that, but like everything's electrified, everything's barbed wire. There's like those overhead siren type like speakers that are up in the woods like everywhere. They're all kind of curious about it. And of course there's, you know, those typical dark myths about the abandoned mine, like it's haunted, or it's a gateway to hell, you know, that kind of deal. So they're on their way, and also the people from the town know that they're still there, or have a feeling, so they go looking for them. And you see a couple of them get into a sticky situation because the monsters are obviously on the loose, and it looks like this town, they do their best to seal this place up, but like it's not quite working, so they're always kind of on the lookout to see if they can deter these monsters from getting out. Right? That's what pretty much you think from that?
I mean, I would say yes. I kept falling in and out of consciousness. I say consciousness, but like I was falling asleep during this movie. And every time I woke up, it was like super interesting though. And I think you have a theory about like these monsters and stuff, but however, I will say they look pretty cool. The monsters themselves are not bad looking at all.
Yeah, one thing that's cool about these monsters is they did kind of preview them slightly in the beginning, and like enough that it wasn't one of those stupid like things just get snatched out of the dark. They did show like a little bit, and you were like, right, awesome. It, yeah. I hope they show the full body of this thing. I hope they go into detail, and they do, because there's a lot of monsters, so like it turns up some. But basically they're on their way, and they get to the final like destination point, which is basically the open hole for this mine over, and they got the whole thing all laid out, and you can see there's smoke and stuff. There's fire in the mines and stuff like that. Like if you've ever heard of like Centralia, Pennsylvania, where they had an underground mine fire. Same type of deal. And so they're like, all right, sweet. And once again, there's a big metal grate covering something, and it's electrified. And they're like, screw it, man. Let's just take this electric stuff off, and let's get up in this hole. And you're like, dude, are you out of your mind? If everything there is electrified and barbed wire, and there's sirens everywhere, what in the hell do you think is in the hole?
Yeah, I think
you know what I
pretty
mean?
dumb.
Like, like aside from the fact that you'd be like, what is this, all gold in there?
Yeah.
But why would you need to electrify something from the outside so people could take the electricity off? You know, it's pretty obvious. Me, I'd be like, I don't know about that, dude.
I'd be like, hell
I'd be
no.
out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up. So basically, they go to do that. They run some tests. They drop a little boop tube thingy camera down there, and they start hearing shit. And something pulls the rope and yanks, and it catches somebody's foot and yanks them all the way down. And you see that dude get dragged away. And then right away, the girl that was with them, that was their navigator, she kind of like has been through some kind of shit. So she gets on it, and she's like, yo, we got to go down there and get this dude. Are you out your mind? So this girl like suits up, man. She's got the rappelling gear, the whole nine, you know, and she's like, zoop, right down in that hole. And another dude that's their, like, I guess security guy they hired, he comes with her, and there's something down there. The gas levels are real high though, so they're like, fuck it, let's get our butts up. And then at that point, things start to get a little wild, because one of the dudes comes back and sees them and is like, whoa, you guys can't be here. Pulls a gun on them. You know what I mean? They end up having to attack the guy and knock him unconscious. And then homeboy down there, like, you know, encounters, I guess, the monster, or is about to. It gets pretty wild. So then at this point, everybody's in a panic. You know, they're running, they get up, they steal the guy's car, like the whole deal. They're trying to figure out what the hell to do. They're like, screw it, we're getting out of here, we're gonna call for help. And it just keeps getting worse. And finally, at some point, they stumble across the other people in the town, because they're obviously, like, at this point, like, yo, people are dying, we gotta take care of this. The monsters are out, you guys opened, there's a breach, so it gets wild. And apparently the whole entire town are armed to the teeth, and they're ready to fight this shit all the time. Like, did you see that when they first encountered, like, they brought them into the thing, and it's kind of like they have drawings on the wall of the monster. They have everything in there. They're ready. Like, they've been fighting these things. So they throw you right into the mix right away.
I mean, you could tell as soon as they get to the town, they talk to, like, the gas station attendant, which is, like, the very traditional, like, wrong turn-esque thing. Is, like, when you show up somewhere, you ask for directions, and everybody looks grungy as shit. That's like, your sign to leave.
Yeah.
Any convenience store, any gas station, anything where it looks like somebody's making some ham pies in the back oven, and it just ain't gonna work out, like, you gotta leave.
Yeah, I agree. And homeboy right away was like, nah, there ain't nothing like that around here. Turn around, go home, go back to your town, wherever the hell it is. Not here. So things get real. They get introduced to the guy in the flashback that owned the mine, and he's got, like, a big old scar on his eye, typical, like, you know, badass pirate type kind of crap. And he's basically like, you know, we've been hunting these things, we've been trying to protect these lands, you know, all this stuff. But at this point, it's nighttime by now, and there's a breach, and it's going crazy. And you don't think that there's multiple monsters. You just think, like, one monster navigates its way, like a little demon or a gremlin, kite deal, through all the mines or whatever. Nah, dude, there's tons of them, and they're real sound sensitive. I don't know if they have good vision or anything like that, but, like, they're wild, and they're like these crazy monsters. They got this fang thing, like a spike for a hand, and it's like, it poisons and paralyzes people. And then their heads are like these giant buttholes with teeth. Right? Is that what you generally say they look like?
I mean, they kind of look like, almost like the sandworm things. You know what I'm talking about from that one movie?
Sandworm thing.
Yeah, they're like tremors, almost. Like, they got that weird, like, mouthy thing mixed with, like, a
yeah,
like
they
a gross
definitely have
humanoid body, almost alien-esque. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And basically, like, these things, I guess they're gonna eat you up or whatever, but they take you and paralyze you, and then they drag you back to their little underground lair type deal. And there is like a mother, which is like this big crazy monster thing, and it basically, I guess they just feed the thing, and I guess they get to eat the scraps type of deal. Like, I don't know if it's like a hive mind or what is it, but basically they get to a point where there's only like, I think 2 of them left when they get to the mother, when you get to be introduced to the big center of this colony underground. And the thing's pretty gnarly, and the girl manages to get slightly out of paralysis enough to get one of the grenades they had. They had a bunch of weapons and some random like gear to protect themselves and all kind of thing. And that they got, and this is from, they didn't come with the grenades. They got it all from the people that are hunting the things from the town, because at that point they all got to be ready to protect themselves at all costs, right? So they managed to start to get away, but like, the one guy, he's like not handling it well. They have to split up, all this crazy stuff goes down. And basically we get to like a big showdown where the whole town is trying to make sure that they can't get out anymore, to get out whatever survivors they can and just call it a night and close the breach. So they're like lined up around whatever opening they can find with mad guns and lights, and they're just going in on these things. And then by the end, I don't know if you want to go right to the end right now, but
yeah, why not?
Yeah, but at the end, basically, this girl is like pretty much the lone survivor of her crew, and the guy, like, she gets to the point where she gets out of there, gets out of the cave. She almost didn't make it. She had to she basically had to, the guy had to sacrifice himself, because they were both trying to get out, and he's like, dude, we can't make it up here if we go both of us on this rappel line. Snip, cuts it. My man drops dead, getting eaten up by these things. And she climbs her ass out. And then they, do what they got to do. They straight up flamethrower one of these things, and it turns to like dust on some Thanos snap type deal. So I'm guessing like these are demons. It's kind of like a paranormal thing to where like these things will get like ignited, or they'll die and they'll disappear. Like, as if they are beyond creatures on Earth. They are more than that. Like, they're demons or something like that. I guess hence the name Devil Below.
Reminds me kind of like the Descent movies.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Very much like the Descent.
Yeah, where it's like these creepy creatures in this like cave-ass thing. You're not really in a cave the whole time. You're kind of like above ground and going into mines and stuff. But it just kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah. And now I'm going to say right away, like, after this end thing happens and everything, she goes to like go and get help. She's like, we're gonna bring the army or something back here. And then she has a change of heart talking to the guy that owned the mine, and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna come and help you. And she stays, and that's like kind of the end of the story. But aside from that, you're looking at these monsters and you see this hive thing, and unless they're gonna go into the movie more and these creatures more, it's kind of just left open-ended. And I feel like these things were super humanoid, and for them to like bring it to this mother that I guess eats them or does whatever, it almost looks like these things are smart enough to like understand certain things. Like, at one point they're like taking these people, putting them on a float, something that floats, and they're paddling it underground in water to get to the mother. So like, they're pretty intelligent humanoid demon creatures. Do these people get turned into these monsters, or like, are these just demons and they just know about humans? They're fairly intelligent. Like, what is the deal with them? I don't know. But either way, I'm going to give this movie like a solid 7. I know it didn't do that well here on this IMDb crap. I think they gave it like a 4.5 or something like that. But I thought it was pretty good. I like it. They're slaying demons, and it's got like some, claustrophobic, scary moments in the cave. It's got some outside scary moments in the dark. It does all the typical tropes, but I thought it was decent. What did you think of this movie? Although you fell asleep a decent amount.
Yeah, I fell asleep, so I can't give it a proper rating. I'd probably say like a 5.5, 6. Like, it's not the worst thing I ever watched. I can't say it's the greatest, but I also didn't watch the movie fully, so I don't want to give it a number,
Dang. I guess that's why she fell asleep. Maybe it wasn't good. But I didn't mind it. If you're into, like, like just monsters and, typical, like, action movies where they fight monsters and have that kind of horror element to it, then I'd check it out. It's not a bad movie at all. And I would like to see maybe another movie about it or something more where it goes even bigger, because you don't really know how many of these monsters there are, but you're assuming there's a lot, and that if they broke free, it could be like a big thing where everybody's fighting them, almost kind of like a zombie apocalypse type scenario, but up in the mountains where they're just everywhere, coming into town and just destroying families and stuff. That would be kind of neat. I would check it out again if they continued it. But I think that about does it for that review, and we'll move on to a review where she can kind of take the reins now, because we'll go into the Raya, the Last Dragon.
So I'm pretty sure it's Raya.
Raya.
But it might be Raya. I may be saying it wrong. I watched it a few days ago, so like I can't remember off the top of my head, honestly. Beautiful fucking movie. Okay, so obviously Disney's animation team, fantastic. Like they are very, very talented. But like, if you get a chance to watch this, I would buy this so it's on Disney Plus, I should say first. And with that being said, you do have to pay an additional $30 to view it. I would say
garbage. That is crap for a streaming service.
No, it isn't. It's valid because think about the fact right now that all these movies should be going to theaters, and this is a high-grossing film, and it would have done extremely well in theaters. I minded paying for Mulan because that shit fucking was not good in my opinion. I just thought it was very bad. This I would pay $30 for. This, I think it's, and once you buy it, then you have access to it for as long as you do, or I believe in a few months it'll become free on Disney Plus if you want to wait. But however, I think this is one that's worth buying. And so it's very, like, if you're a fan of Avatar, and you know, like, in the beginning when they're, like, talking about all the different nations and how they don't work in a perfect harmony and balance. It's very much like that.
So they got a pretty big lore set up in there, like a whole big
so let me
world.
like look at this plot better so I could tell you.
Looking into the plot.
Yeah, I just want a general synopsis so I don't say things wrong.
What about the actual world itself, or just generally?
So it's a fantasy world called Kumandra. I believe that's how it's said. And it's humans, and it was dragons, and them kind of lived in harmony. There was all types of different dragons, and so these sinister monsters called the Droon came out, and they just kind of plagued the land. And like once they're like these big balls of energy, it looks like they're very purple and dark and just like stormy and gross. But once they like pass through, everything turns, like all the humans and the dragons turn to stone. Okay. So that's just like the main backstory, and they go through this in the beginning. And the way they do the art is very, like I said, Avatar-esque. It's beautiful. It's super interesting. And then 500 years later, the same monsters have returned, and it's up to Raya to track down the last dragon and stop the dream. So it's basically like each town in there is named after a different part of the dragon. So like she lives in the heart, and that's like her group.
I'd hate to be at the ass end town.
Oh my god. I think there's like a tail end, you know what I mean? Yeah. But so theirs is the heart, and they seem to like have the most resources in this town. It's a lot more harmonious than some of the other towns, and the father, it's her and her father. He's basically like training her to help kind of lead the village and the group and everything like that. And in their town, they have almost like a spear crystal, which seems to be, and I want to say this the right way, so I'm going to look at Wikipedia.
Spears and crystals, man. What you know about them?
Sphere, not spear.
Spears or spheres?
Spherical shape. Spherical
shapes or spherical shapes?
I can't say it. You know what I'm saying?
I know. I'm just.
So it's like an orb, and it's the groups are Fang, Heart, Spine, Talon, and Tail. It's not ass like you were trying to say, but
the ass end.
So in Heart, they're set to protect this orb, and so the chief, which is Raya's father, wants to have kind of like a festival to bring or like a big dinner, essentially, and bring all these groups together, because he believes that if they're able to like become Kumandra again and have harmony and balance, that maybe the dragons will come back, and maybe they'll survive, and maybe they'll have like all these really wonderful things, because he's like a dude that sees things very well. So during the
great
feast,
vision. He's got great.
During the feast, Raya like becomes friends with this girl from the Fang tribe, and like her mom is like part of is the leader of the Fang tribe, and you know she feels like connected to her, and she kind of takes that step to be like, hey, we can all work together. Like, I'm going to go talk to this girl that's my age or whatever. Well, this little bitch turns around and is like acting like she's friends with her, convinces her to bring her to that orb, and then like is like, thanks for showing me that, and then goes to steal it. So while that happens, the orb shatters into like 5 fucking pieces. Each group takes a piece themselves and they just dip off, which is just makes everything like start rattling and shaking, and that's when those like demon monsters come out again.
Demons.
So these monsters now, the spear, like if you hold it to them, kind of makes them like run away, and like they are afraid of it. And water is really the only thing that seems to work.
And water.
Yeah, so a lot of villages.
So they ultimately could just use the water, or do they have to have both?
But the thing is, they have to have the resource like to be safe in the water. Like if you have a village on the water, cool, you'll probably do fine. But if you don't, like, what are you gonna do? So basically, her dad turns to stone. Everybody in her village turns to stone. She gets thrown into the ocean with one piece of the shard of the crystal, kind of like Dark Crystal-esque, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for 6 years, she's been trying to find this dragon named Sisu, which we learned about earlier, who is supposed to be like the last dragon. And when she was talking to that girl who backstabbed her, it was revealed that she would have to just follow a stream to like find this dragon. So she eventually finds this dragon, shows up, and it's just like this very hilariously done, which I think is voiced by Awkwafina. Does like rap stuff, and then I think she did like that Oceans whatever movie with all those women. Pretty sure she was in that.
Okay.
But the dragon, like as soon as you see the dragon for the first time, it's fucking beautiful. The animation for it itself is really just visually stunning, and like all the little furry parts and everything is just really, really cool. There's also like some like cute other characters in this too. Like I believe her pet, like every Disney princess-esque character has to have like a pet, right? So she's got, and it's kind of similar to Dark Crystal, bless you, where they look like, it almost looks like a hedgehog-esque thing with a big armadillo shell on it, and it's really cute looking.
Armadillo.
Yeah, so that's really fun. That's like her pet that she rides around and stuff. And while she's trying to find Sisu and like the missing pieces like from the other tribes, she runs into her old friend, the girl who like backstabbed her, and she's trying to like get all these things together so she could restore balance and bring all the tribes together. But as that's happening, she obviously comes through different obstacles, and she meets people from each tribe. So she meets like a boy who's on a ship, and his whole family turned to stone, and he's just like the most adorable little boy making like shrimp meals on his boat, and she's like, I'll give you all this jade if you take me somewhere. And so like he's from a different tribe, and so she meets another person from a different tribe, and they all kind of just come together, which I think is really well done, because obviously there's like a lot of chaos within the 6 years since this incident happened. There's my favorite thing though about this movie is there's a little baby in one of the villages, and the subtitles read it as her name is Con Baby. So every time something happens, it's like, Con Baby did this, or Con Baby said this, you know what I mean? And it's just stupid. But she's basically like this little baby who can't be more than like 2 or 3. Like she's super little, and that's even giving. And she's raised by these monkeys because her parents are stoned, and there's like 3 of them, and they just like use her to con people and like to get food and to get like money and stuff, and it's absolutely hysterical. Didn't think that would be a part of this movie, but I very much enjoyed that. And that happens in Talon, and then they go to just different parts of it, but there's fight sequences that she has too, mostly with her rival from the Fang group. And the plot is very good. Personally, like if I was going to rate this right now, I would give it like a 9. For reference,
geez. That's heavy. Yeah,
for reference, like I would give like Moana a solid 10. And I know people compare this a lot because the stories feel similar, or like a Frozen-esque for the more modern stuff. I would give like a 9 as well. But there's something that I needed a little bit more for in the story, and I don't know what it would be. However, I like the fact that it's not a traditional love story. I love the fact that it is all about like almost in that Avatar way, where it's all these different tribes that bring different things and are obviously at like different standards to some degree, because the one village that she goes to, there's only one person still alive. Everybody else is to stone. He's like living on limited resources, and when you look, it's like he's got this little baby bed, and his baby's obviously fucking gone and turned to stone, which is really sad. But it's almost like they make like I get it's cheesy, they kind of like make a family together, with all these tribe members, and like that's what helps them at the end like restore balance, is like trusting each other, because the whole premise is about, well, this group did this and this group did this and blah 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 blah, and they just kind of go and argue consistently, and when they finally learn to trust each other, like that's when things go right, I guess. So it's beautiful. The animation's good. The dialogue is so funny. There's so much stuff that made me laugh, like genuinely laugh. I think the lead character is like super interesting as well, and I think that all the little like additions to like the quote unquote family that they create between them and the balance that they are trying to put out there is really fun, and it makes sense for the story.
Okay.
So I gave you a couple big plot points. Either way, I didn't really spoil much. You could see honestly all that on Disney Plus if you want to do it. But yeah, I would say it's worth your money. Get a couple family members or your friends, whatever you're doing, your roommates, and just watch this movie together. I think it's quite good.
Nice.
Yes.
All right. Well, that about sums it up for that Raya, or maybe Raya. I am not personally sure. The Last Dragon. Now we're going to move on to the finale of WandaVision. Now, I know it was so many episodes, just so much to watch. Actually, not really. It was like 9 episodes at 30 minutes a pop. But it's done, and the finale was pretty gnarly for the most part. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I personally got a problem with it, but a lot of people did enjoy this finale, I feel like. I mean, I know you enjoyed this finale quite a bit. What do you think?
My dude, last week I was saying how I didn't really watch the previous episode as much. So this week I said, let me watch them back to back, which was a fucking mistake. Don't do that. Don't watch episode 8 and 9 together. Real quick for episode 8, like, I got shocked by seeing all of her flashbacks when her parents died. That explosion, like, scared the shit out of me. I thought that was very good. I thought Vision stuff was really good. So I was already emotionally heavily going into this episode. And this episode starts off right away with, like, fight, right? It's, like, literally, like, when she tells her kids in the last episode to go back to the house. Or is it this one? She has.
Yeah, them. I mean, it's right from where we left off in the last episode, where Agatha has them basically, boom, on the little ropes, the witchy ropes. Mm-hmm. She's got them on the witch reins.
She does, and so
she's like, "Go, horsies!" But they're not going nowhere. Thought it was going to be a magic chariot, but apparently not. Kids don't have enough horsepower.
I mean, the one kid's
the one
super
runs fast, but
then
when they run, they just turn left like NASCAR. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
I did really like getting to see these kids' powers. Like, I thought that was really cool, getting the chance to see a little bit more of that. So I like that this episode just started off with a bang, went like right into it. We're not sugarcoating anything. Here's the plot. I liked all the stuff with Vision. I thought that was good, and I was happy with it. I loved towards the end the little Kat Dennings moment where she shows back up. I enjoyed that a lot. The whole episode, though, if you want to run through the plot, because I'm thinking of things all over the place, and I'll just kind of talk about what I liked and didn't like.
I'll run through a little bit of it.
Yeah.
So basically, Agatha's got the kids hostage, and she releases the kids, and basically her and Scarlet start to have their fight. And at this point, White Vision comes, and White Vision and Vision start to have their fight. And at that point, you see, what's her name? Rambo. She's locked in the room with the, Quicksilver Evan Peters version or whatever, and he's like some like hippie kid, like, oh man, like check out my digs, bruh, oh, and like whatever. So there's that, and then also when we go back to the Sword Agents, they're just kind of trying to figure out, how to get in there and stop Wanda. You know what I mean? They're all arming up and they're getting ready to drive in. It's getting crazy. So basically they're fighting, and it's basically battle of the spells, and it takes it into a point at one point in the battle where it kind of flashbacks into Agatha tied up when the witches, try to shun her. and then
very cool scene.
Yeah, and they go back and forth, and it's a lot of them kind of tricking each other in the fight with different magic. Like when that happens, you know, it's Scarlet Witch taking over and putting her through that torture again, but then they reverse and they all are like, you're the Scarlet Witch, and these zombies come after her, and then but there's constant back and forth with that, and it's real interesting to watch when they're fighting. The Vision fight is great when they're fighting, and you see them phasing through each other and grabbing each other and all this interesting stuff and flying and hitting each other with beams. Really cool. Thoroughly enjoyed that. And at that point,
very, very cool sequence.
You know, the kids are you know what I mean, back out of that at one point, and then the sword guys move in, so then the kids are going after the sword agents, kind of disarming them, and there's a lot of stuff that happens within this fight. And then at one point the Visions kind of confront each other in talking and reasoning, and they're kind of, you know, he's like, well, why are you trying to destroy me? What are you doing? And he's like, I have to destroy the Vision. And then he's like, but are you Vision? Am I Vision? Who is Vision? What is Vision? How do we get the right Vision to know if we're Vision? But whatever. And basically, you know, fake Vision from Wanda's Hex unlocks his memories because it's actually a physical form of him, and he just kind of is like, I'm Vision. Flies off. I have problems with it, but whatever, we'll get into that in a bit. And then it goes back, and you know, they're fighting still. You know, you got Agatha, you got Wanda, they're going back and forth and all this crap, and finally Wanda gets the upper hand and gets her with the same, what do they call those, the symbols that they had in the cave, the runes, you know, and hits her with some of that and tricks her into it, takes her power. Very cool scene, you know, and then you see her become like the legit Scarlet Witch with the full costume. That part's cool.
Headpiece, and even like the sigils or like the runes in the sky were very cool. I will say real fast, because you're talking about how you're mad about Vision and everything, I posted a meme on our Instagram, which is podcast for the recently released, or I'm sorry, it's just pod for the recently released on Instagram. But I'll show you this. It says Wanda versus Agatha, and then it says White Vision versus Vision, and it's like this beautiful classical like Renaissance painting of like visions, and then it's like Agatha and Wanda like straight up just fist fighting.
Well, they were fighting at one point, and then they did kind of stop for a second, be like, hold up, dog, we're this intelligent, let's figure this out.
Literally have
for
a debate while the women are just destroying each other outside. Hysterical. I love that.
Yeah, which is why I have a big problem with it, because let me tell you,
so it makes sense for his character. He's hot, he's intelligent, it makes sense.
Yes, that part makes sense, but when it gets to the point where he realizes he's Vision, he gets all the memories, he knows what's going on up until this point, and apparently, like, he, you know, he's madly in love with Wanda, they want to start a family together, all of this stuff, and he's aware of all of these things that happened, how he died, everything you could imagine just hits him at once, and then he just flies away. He doesn't go to protect the children, he doesn't go to protect Wanda, he doesn't, what? Like, what in the hell kind of backwards part of the story is that?
I don't think he's flying away. I think he's flying to something. Maybe he was doing something we didn't see. Maybe he was working on something else. I don't know. I agree. It was weird that he just, like, dipped out like that. However, maybe he thought that the other Vision could handle it or would have to have his, like, last moments with his wife.
Yeah. And then they also go into the point where Rambo goes to get her way out from Quicksilver, and you realize that he was never Quicksilver. Nothing. They were just trolling you, and he was just some random guy that looked like Evan Peters that they just did that to be like, real meta, bro. You know, and I thought that was pretty whack, especially because
I thought it was cute.
I thought there was going to be a cool way for them to somehow bring him in, and especially because he's from the part of the Marvel universe that has mutants.
It's
and
what,
maybe
like
they were
Fox, no?
Yeah, that's Fox's doing.
But they own them now, so they could do that. But it would have been cool to introduce them into a way to
yeah, I had a theory that like the Hex, since it gave Rambo powers, that the Hex would basically explode in a crazy fury, and it would rain all throughout the world or whatever, and basically unlock people's inner potential or mutant gene. And that would have been like maybe a potential intro to merge the whole aspect of the mutant gene and mutants in general into the MCU. But I mean, let me know if you think any of other theories that could have been cool. That's just what I personally would have liked to have seen, you know, or what I thought they maybe pushed in the show, but it wasn't like that at all.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I love this show. I love it all the way through. I think this was probably the most refreshing thing that Marvel has done in a long time. I honestly was burnt out on a lot of the more recent like MCU movies. I honestly don't care too much about the MCU. I'm gonna say it. I love me some Spider-Man. I love the last Captain America movies. Like, there's things that I love about it. I think that this is a very refreshing and fun take on it because I think people were also burnt out to some degree after like Endgame and Infinity War and all the trauma of that. I do think this was a great concept. I loved how fun and spunky and like eerie this was. I know some people were complaining about it being slow in the beginning. But oh my god, it pulled on my heartstrings for so many reasons. And for me, Wanda has like always been my favorite like in the MCU. She's been my favorite since she came out there. I've liked Scarlet Witch, of course, but like seeing her in the MCU was always my favorite. And then Vision, of course, I love him. He's hot, 10 out of 10, good for him. You know, I'm really upset there wasn't like a romance scene between her and two Visions, and I didn't get to see that.
Between her and two Visions?
Yeah.
Like what?
Like both Visions showed up, and you're gonna tell me you're not gonna like romantically hug both of them or something, or like smash? I just think there was an opportunity there, and Marvel missed it.
Yeah, so that's a heap of garbage. But anyways,
but
so
no,
we'll
honestly,
move on.
I'm not done. I was just saying that for comedic relief. However, I do think like seeing her in the previous episode where she like realizes that she can't take his body and bury him, and like because they're like, this is literally just a scientific thing and we're taking him apart for science, and she's literally so fucking broken, was just sad. Flashbacking to her whole like, what is grief if not love, what persevering, is that another thing? That line has taken over the internet. Things like that are just very emotional. And so when she literally like realized that she had to get rid of her family and like was kissing her kids goodnight and said what'd she say? She said, thank you for choosing me to be your mom.
Yeah, that was weird, and I didn't like that line at all. I really hated that line.
I liked it.
I hated that,
sweet.
especially because the whole point was they were starting a family. That was a construct that she created where she started the family, and then she referenced that line as if like these were just two random kids that she plucked from the town and turned them into her kids, and we're like, thanks for letting me be your mom
but
today.
I think it's like,
it was weird
there's not, I think you're being dramatic, because I think there's the ability to be like, thank you for, you know, like to your kids being like, you made me a mom. Like, if I didn't I wouldn't be a mom without my kids. You know what I mean? So I think in that same element, it's like, thank you for being here with me, I guess. And I think like choosing me to be your mom is an odd word, but technically like you don't know what you're going to have when it comes to your kids. You're going to have kids. That's it. So I really wept because you just know they're going to be gone. And like, I can't imagine, even though everybody's like, they're her fake kids, who cares? Like those were her fucking kids. You know what I mean? And
yeah, yes and no, in the sense that like, I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, she knows it's all in her head. She knows that she created this. It all hit her at the end with when you see the whole town and what it's doing to these people. I mean, her
giving birth in her freaking living room and having literal babies with somebody she's so brokenhearted over and is like in love with, just to get that all taken away when she was feeling like obviously confident about it at some point, like, and very like deluded and in this delusion and stuff, it's crazy and it's sad. And I think it really, like, I don't want to hear anything you have to say about this, because I know you're not gonna think it's sad, so you don't even have to say it. But I literally was crying to the point where I was like choking on my own spit. Like, I was laying in bed crying. My tears were in my ear holes. I had to get up and wipe out my ear holes because I was full of tears.
Which is, I guess, why I'm glad I watched it and finished it before you did.
Yeah, I watched it separately. But I didn't expect... Like, I knew it was going to be a sad ending because, like, what do you expect? What do you think the outcome is going to be when you're literally trapping people in a town? And the one... I don't even know if we talked about this, but when they finally... when Agnes... like plucks all these people and makes it so they remember what's going on and talk about like, hey, like when you have nightmares, we have them too, and like, please, if you're not gonna let us go, then just kill us, and like all these things. Like, I guess she technically didn't really know how much harm she was doing to these people, so that's like a fucked up and awakening at that in the middle of all this chaos that she has going on. And so I think she needs some therapy. I think she needs some therapy after this. She got a whole bunch of people who are never going to think of her as a hero because of the way that she did things that she did. And that's what she's technically supposed to be. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just can't imagine, like, losing fucking everything, going to, like, the plot of land that you had that you were supposed to have somebody, and then just doing this. It's chaotic.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. At the ending, the way that happened was, you know, she has to come to those realizations and all that different stuff. I was a little just, like, not really caring at all about the whole thing with Rambo coming in at the end and them whole going through their talks and this and that.
I liked her in the show, but
she came on strong in the very beginning, and then the rest of the time
just
it
forgot
only
about
seemed
her.
like she popped up randomly to say something, to be like, you know, like, you have to think about this, or like to kind of just put things into perspective for her. And I was like, this is boring,
she came out like
man.
swinging right away,
Yeah,
and then they were like,
she came out pretty awesome.
all right,
and then
let's
it just,
put her with fake Evan Peters for a little bit, and that was it, you know. But I really did like her, and I would have liked to see more of like her powers and like what she had going on, because I was intrigued by her. Yeah,
I really didn't care for what they did with her at the end at all. Like, that part fell short to where it almost seemed like she didn't need to be in there. It seemed like they literally took all the characters that were in, like, the Captain Marvel movie, like a lot of them and those aspects, and just kind of ushered them in with this show. You know what I mean? And like the one guy that gets arrested at the end, it's whatever, you know, that he created White Vision and all that stuff. It was cool to watch him get hit by a car. Not his body, but like him in a car get hit by a car with what's her name? Kat
Dennings' character.
Yeah, Kat Dennings' character.
Sorry.
Yeah. Whatever her name is. And, but then, like, so there's a couple things that just were uneventful to me. Like, the whole point that this was supposed to be, like, the bridge that a lot of people were saying for Doctor Strange 2. Mm-hmm. Aside from the book, like, nothing good that really gave us a good jump to it that would be, like, really interesting. I know they'll do something with the book, but otherwise, nothing. I was hoping to see some Doctor Strange. I would have loved Doctor Strange. Yeah, I was hoping to do a little bit more with the purpose of Vision once he overcame things and realized he was Vision. You know, that was whatever. And then Agatha, you know, she gets basically turned back into her Hex version of herself, and then just kind of left like that. And she's like, I'll just come back if I need you, or you are causing problems.
Yeah, but I think there's a good plot for that. I thought she was fantastic. Catherine, what's her name? Catherine
whatever.
No, I need to say
her
name.
You know, Catherine whatever.
I have not been
Lady from Step Brothers.
No, she's in a lot more stuff.
She's in a lot of stuff.
Catherine Hahn.
Catherine Hahn. Well,
yes.
She's all right.
She's fantastic. I thought she was really fun. I enjoyed her. I liked the whole, like, Agatha all along thing when it happened. I thought the ending was good and stuff.
I hated her outfit, though. I thought that it was just a bunch of, like, droopy sheets
sorceress
just put on her. Like, they could have at least decorated it maybe to look more like the costume that she has in the comics, which is still a dress kind of deal, but it's better looking than that.
Tone it down.
Tone it down?
Yes.
Whatever. Get out of here.
I expected more from this show. However, I did not leave unsatisfied. I am pretty happy with the way that this turned out. It hurt. It hurt real bad, real good. But however, I feel like this is like a very well done thing from Marvel, and a refreshing, as I said multiple times, thing that they put out, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. What would you rate it? What would you rate? Well, technically the season finale, maybe the show overall.
Season finale, I would give an 8 on plot. Could probably use a little bit something else, but like on the emotions I felt, bitch, that was like a 10. It was cranked all the way up. Whole show, I would give like a 9.
Wow, nice, that's pretty intense of a rating.
You know, also I'm like really big into like decade specific fashion, and like all the shows that they were referencing were generally things I enjoy, so I think that like really changes that. But also I'm an emotional ass bitch, so that like helps a lot.
Yeah, me overall, I'd probably give the finale like a 6.5, 7.
Whack.
And the show in general, maybe like a 7.5, I would say. Like, there was a lot of stuff that I get that they pulled from different stories, like when White Vision creates his own family type deal, or, you know, when his family of androids, they kind of pulled that aspect into the aspect of Scarlet Witch having her kids but they didn't really obviously introduce the character that helped make her kids in the original comics and stuff. That they pulled little bits from each thing and brought it in, but they didn't really give me any kind of satisfaction in any of those directions. It was kind of like its own thing that fell a little flat for me towards the end. But the show itself was enjoyable to watch up until that point for me. You know, a lot of it was really fun. I thoroughly enjoyed what they did with the show, especially the first few episodes, how it transitioned into things and opened up the idea of everything they were doing. That was really awesome. But overall, like, it was all right. You know, I would definitely check it out if they ventured into another season for sure, just to see what they would do. And I'm still going to obviously go into Doctor Strange 2 fishing for what kind of thing they have to bridge that, if they even do it. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm excited, though, either way, to see more stuff. Like, I want to see, Falcon Winter Soldier's coming. I don't know if they're going to do anything in with that as well. You know, now that, like, Scarlet Witch is back out in the open, dipping around, doing her thing. You know, I don't know if they're going to eventually cross paths. What do you think? Do you think that would be kind of cool? Or, I don't know. But either way, we'll see what happens. That's my review. That's her review. And we'll switch on over now to Superman and Lois, which is, I feel like, off to a great start.
I didn't watch really this one. I fell asleep. I hate that.
Ridiculous. Like, everybody write in the comments and yell at her for sleeping a lot on these shows. Because
I would like to get, like, a caffeine or energy drink sponsor.
Sponsor, just buy yourself a damn energy drink in the meantime. I'll buy him. I tell her all the time. I got 2 double shots of espresso here next to me while I'm doing this, and I already had like 8 shots of espresso today. Like, so I'm always ready to try to get into this. I gotta put some pep in my step. So Superman and Lois episode. I'm obviously gonna be up for every episode that they do because I was a huge Smallville guy.
I will say it's beautiful. I don't hate it. I remember like a decent amount of it, but I don't remember the whole episode. But I really like this show. I've been telling people to watch it.
Yeah, and I do like the quality. The production quality is great. They're sticking in line with kicking it up a notch. Like when they did DC Universe and started doing shows through there, they really kicked it up as far as production goes, and everything, the costumes, everything was way better than every stupid typical CW I wear a leather outfit with a symbol on it. And I'm just tired of that, and they've been doing really good as far as the evolution of their shows, and the production is great on this. The effects are great, just like the last show they did. What was that? Stargirl was really great production as well. But this is really fun to watch, and in the second episode, it's basically them getting their little bit of, getting their feet wet. Basically, they moved into town. Lois is having trouble with her job, and Morgan Edge, who took over the Daily Planet, basically edits one of her pieces and causes her to quit. At the same time, Clark is having issues still with the Luthor from another world, where he's kind of going out and seeking kryptonite, and he's trying to figure out what's going on with that. And then at the same time that stuff's happening, he's also bringing Jordan out to the Fortress of Solitude to get him trained, to teach him about his origins and things of that nature. And while that's happening, he's kind of hitting a lot of roadblocks because it's causing family problems. It's causing issues with the brothers. The one brother's getting bullied now at school and he's not doing well. And then the other brother that's supposed to be, another Kryptonian basically, and getting his powers, he's basically being told by Jor-El that he's not anything. Like, he had a couple hiccups where he expressed, like, he showed a little bit of something, but it's really nothing substantial. It's like not even a 1/100th of what Superman is. And he's basically telling him, I wouldn't even worry about this kid, keep him from sneezing too hard, basically. And so there's a lot of issues there, and he's just kind of getting hit with everything at once because they had to give up a lot to come there, and it's basically split half and half, where Lois and the one brother, they had to give up their whole lives to come there. And basically the other two, it's Superman and Superboy, and they don't necessarily have that same issue at this moment, but it is causing a lot of problems with them, so everybody is affected. It's really interesting to watch. It's cool to see the fights right now between, Superman and this Lex on another planet, who I'm going to just call the Halo Spartan, because his outfit's just like it, damn near. I mean, what do you think of that outfit? Like, that thing just looks like Doom or the Halo guy, and I
looks
can't
like
stop
Halo
thinking it.
Yeah, every time I see it, it's just Halo. That's it.
So basically, like, they even go into a flashback where you see like what makes him go after Superman, and it was like an evil Superman. He's a black suit Superman, and Lex was basically in the military with Lois's dad, and Lois's dad died in that world, and they were working together to basically stop Superman. And so at one point, this Luthor goes and meets with Lois's dad. You know, not really meets with him. I mean, he goes there and knocks a bunch of people out upside the head, and he's like, "Yo, you're gonna talk to me for a second. Let me tell you what like connection we got." So there's a lot of that going on too. You're wondering what's gonna happen, but him and Superman fight like 2 times in this, and Superman's like, "Dude, I'm gonna whoop the hell out of this guy," and he basically does. And in the process, Luthor basically sacrifices his ship, and and has to kind of go underground and figure out a new way to attack this. And I think he's going to go a more psychological route this time. And they really show that kind of opening up to the problems with the father in the military, also interfering in this, because it could cause a lot of problems, especially with the family issues, because the father kind of wanted to keep that Superman aspect away from the family, and he's finding out now that they know, and it's causing a lot of problems. I mean, his daughter lost her job. I mean, it's going to be a problem. Everything's an issue. And so we're going to see that probably all blow up in Superman's face, and he's going to have to deal with that. And I don't know if the other kid's going to get powers, or if the one's just kind of basically going to have hiccup powers, where he's like, he had taco night, he farts, and, fire shoots out of his eyes or something, or he flies up into the sky. Whatever. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to give this episode like a solid 8. I mean, these episodes have been good so far, and these are long seasons, so I'm sure there'll be some filler episodes somewhere in it, but we'll definitely cover them as they come. But I'm super excited. I really like it so far.
I mean, I haven't seen that much, so I don't know, but however, I really enjoyed what I saw, and I will be watching in the future.
Yeah, and they also have the what is it when they show the little thing where Lex Luthor goes and meets with Lois's dad? He gives him a little badge with the Kryptonian symbol on it, and it was from it's like a dog tag from when he was fighting with him in that world against Superman, and it's basically the 7734, and you turn it upside down, it says hell. But I guess it's in that world, something happened to Superman that makes him basically like the biggest threat to the world, like he's the destroyer of all things type deal. So we'll see if that becomes any bit of a reality, like almost as if Lex Luthor triggers something that makes that happen again, or anything like that could be really big and explosive for the show. So I'm going to be looking out for that, and we'll cover that next week. But that's everything for today. We covered everything. I definitely think we're gonna go into what the heck is well, we can't go into WandaVision anymore. Oh my goodness. So I was gonna say we were gonna cover more of that next week, but we're not.
It's over. Did we talk about the end credits already?
Yeah. Oh yeah. To go back into WandaVision real quick, there was an end credits thing where they had one where Rambo gets brought into the auditorium in the town, and the one lady cop was like a Skrull. It's like, oh, you got to meet with somebody, and she points up, and she's like, ooh, what's up there? And then that cuts out, and then it goes to another scene, which you watched the other one, right? You watched the other end credit scene where they're it's like the mountains, and she's like in a cabin drinking some tea, and then it goes into the back room, and it's her in her costume like floating like blah, 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 like with the magic stuff, and she's got her book and all that crap, and she can hear the voices of the kids and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. and then it cuts out. So I'm guessing she's gonna do some dark magic, and some things are gonna go down in the future, maybe in the next movie. I don't know.
Guess we'll have to see. But that wraps it up for today's episode 61. I'm going to let you do a little closeout for us, and then we'll sign out. Yes. If you want to listen to us, you go over to podcastfortherecentlyreleased.com. Over there, you'll find links to everywhere podcasts are listened to, I believe. We got Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, literally anything you could think of right on there directly. And you can also find a direct link through our website if you'd rather listen on there. You can also find links to our web store. You can find direct links to mine and Joe's social media pages, as well as information about us. And if you'd like to follow us on Instagram, we're Pod for the Recently Released on there. I've been posting a little bit more on there. Posted a funny meme today. You can go check it out. And I post like little, what?
Nothing. I'm just laughing.
I posted a meme, and I post some pictures of us like just doing things, and I post clips and highlights of the show on there. So if you want to check that out, then definitely check us out on Instagram.
All right. Peace, players.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to yet another episode of Podcast for the Recently Released. If you want to peep some of our older episodes, we've got a ton of them. Just check us out on podcastfortherecentlyreleased.com. We've got merch, older episodes, links for other ways to listen to us, and more. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Don't let your meatloaf. Stay safe out there, guys.